Thank you, Brunel. Wrong one. So, this is a washing machine. It's in the desert, as you can see, and it's got organ pipes mounted on it which are shooting flame. What this washing machine is doing is it is singing the national anthem of South Africa. It was a piece that was built by a guy called James Clayton, who was an ex-mining engineer who'd found his creative mojo. And he's usually posted off close by, sitting in a garden chair, kind of nonchalantly, but nondescript. And he's got a hidden Bluetooth device, and he's sending the message of the national anthem to this washing machine. It's usually very pleasing. You're cruising along happily, and then suddenly, boom, it bursts into flaming song, which is quite pleasing, but also mostly quite a shock. So, to put it in context, this was a piece created at AfrikaBurn, which is a 6-year-old offshoot of the Burning Man Festival, which started in the States 26 years ago. And these events, which have become known as burns, are distinguished by the fact that they're very actively created by those who actually attend them. So, us as organizers of these events, all we do is we create a blank canvas on which you can project whatever you like. The one thing that we do is we challenge you. We challenge you to engage. We challenge you. There's no massive order or structure. We challenge you to rely on yourselves completely, so bring everything that you need to survive in the desert. And we challenge you to express yourselves radically. We also require decommodification, which is to bring absolutely there's nothing to buy, nothing to sell, to cover branding. It's a completely commerce-free environment. You bring gifts and give gifts with absolutely no expectation of anything in return. And we try and leave no physical trace. We, of course, like to leave a trace on people's psyches and fun centers of their brains. But we ask you to be civically minded, but above all, to participate. And these are the principles that inform these events, which have come to be known as burns. And what arrives there is very astounding. That's an anvil being shot 10 meters in the sky, as they do. In 2008, I was at Burning Man, the one in the States, and I was walking through the desert with some friends, and we were just cruising around in the middle of the night, and there was all this incredibly amazing stuff going on, as it does there. And one of my friends kind of took pause, and she just said, but what is it that we're doing here? Not what we're doing here, but what are we doing? And I suppose this is what this talk is about. It's like, what's going on there? My answer to her at the time was that, in my opinion, we were practicing imagining, which he seemed to think was a very good idea. So, this is a mighty bench, and it was built very distinctly to accommodate 24 of your closest friends, a photographer, and for you to be able to swing your legs and take in the mighty view. This is a T-Rex, giant flaming T-Rex called Lizzie, who was built out of scrap metal, powered by a solar array. Lizzie starts off life kind of standing there looking like a sculpture, and she's staring at another kinetic sculpture, which is one of a whole bunch of, two rabbits which are in a fist fight while they're spinning and flaming as they do. Then, unbeknownst to everyone, Lizzie actually starts moving. This is an animated kinetic sculpture, and she moves beautifully and gingerly at first, walking very elegantly and beautifully towards this big flaming globe. Then, what happens is that she gets irritated, and then she really charges very fast and runs a whole lot of steps and bashes into this globe, as they do. This is a vehicle which is powered by a steam engine, which then also gets decommissioned and used to grind flour to bake bread. And then one Saturday morning of the event, someone goes and gathers 2,000 participants and creates a face of Madiba and the message of Ubuntu, while everyone's sitting interlocked with each other, holding each other's hearts, reminding us that we are actually made for interdependence. This is self-organization in the funnest possible way you can imagine. But it is a Marxist imperative to always look beyond the object. And the thing about these sculptures is they're not actually just sculptures. They are kind of physical manifestations or protrusions into the world of all the personal connections that are going on at in the process of actualizing these projects. When you get together a team and you're inventing and you putting together disparate elements and finding materials and working really hard, and it's also really, really lovely to celebrate and put together a shared vision. So we go massive distances to the desert, and we build stuff and we labor and we give gifts, and then very often we burn what we have made there. And the thing is that it doesn't seem very sensible to do that. But the main point is that it's not about the senses. I mean, it's not about being sensible, it's actually about our senses. Because process will always be more important than the end product. Very simply because that's where relationship lives. I'm having a little technical hitch in that I can't can't find my place. Creating and experiencing a commerce-free environment is absolutely paramount. To move away from that hyper-transactional, impersonal exchange situation, again, just leaves relationships with ourselves, relationships with each other, relationships with the environment, and relationships with our creative lives. Then burning. Burning sculptures is very often a very cathartic moment for the people who create them. It's a symbolic moment, and it's very what's the word? It restores cycle. It communicates transience, and it's also just very celebratory and a joyful thing to do. It's also a kind of quite a ritualistic moment, which is a thing that has been leached out of our overly rational society. It's very essential. Then the environment is both incredibly beautiful but also harsh, and it's meant to do that. It takes you right out of your comfort zone. Just when you think that you have everything perfectly organized, it will invariably knock you sideways. And it'll be usually in the form of a storm, either wind, rain, dust, or a combination of them. And all you do is you have to surrender, and you hold up your tent pole or your piece of your sculpture, or you just let go and you assess what's proper and real and whether you must just let it go. But the beauty is that everyone always ends up coming and helping you to put it back together again. Or when you have kind of out there and you're absolutely exhausted and you eventually think, okay, enough now, I've had it with this little experiment in temporary community. Someone will walk past and go, hey, look, I've just made a lovely fresh batch of pina coladas, and would you like one? And then everything's beautiful again and you feel, yay, And the thing is that in that difficulty, it's great because the little thunderbolt has been sent through, the defibrillator paddles have been on, and a little thunderbolt has been sent through to the creative lives, our creative lives, and waking them up. And that's very important. But also it's very, very important to wake these things up, because very simply, the world that we're living in is looking a little bit less than peachy. There's too much inequality and too much problems, and very many people are having a lot less than a happy life. And this anesthetizes us. Our hyper-consumptive world kind of anesthetizes us as to what's going on, or if we do know what's going on, as to how to effect change. because the scale of the problem just feels too big. It feels like turning a massive tanker around in the ocean. But if you wake people up to their creativity, and the beauty is that our wild natures are just sitting just below the surface, and they really, really do want out. These are our purer and more natural and more caring impulses. So, when you invite people to their creativity, turning that tanker around in the ocean just feels a lot easier. And not only is it doable, it's actually something that you feel like really doing with your friends. And I think it's possibly a little bit tenuous to think that a flaming, singing washing machine is going to change the world, or a charging T-Rex for that matter. But it's the mindset that can. It's the one that's brave and willing to put together a disparate bunch of things in a flash of fun and whimsy and just the willingness to try. And the one that knows that adding to the collective environment is very, very gratifying and just begets more of that kind of action. I've got a note to self on my desk which says by Nabil Hamdi, which says imagine first, reason later. And it's really important to put imagining first, because it makes sure that the actions that you're doing are waking up a foundation, or being informed by a foundation of idealism. And they also give you the freedom to play with what can be. And play is the original way that we learn and experiment. And by exercising these muscles, we are creating route maps towards changing things in our world. And the thing is that, in my opinion, at this point, ideas and actions are, new ideas and actions are more of a necessity than a luxury. So my wish is that for AfrikaBurn and these burn events is that they should catalyze change, where fun is the vector that makes change happen. Because the way to build a snowball is to just start. So these are gateway drugs to getting more proactively involved in our society. And the beauty is that it's experiential learning. It's not a mind thing, it's a gut thing. And for me, very personally, it's a really fun way to start a revolution. Thank you.